Are you coming to the tree where dead men called out for his love to flee?
The war on Gaza comes on the 106th anniversary of the Balfour Declaration, which changed the lives of Palestinians forever. So what was that declaration? Well, for centuries, the Ottoman Empire controlled Palestine until it was conquered in 1917 by advancing British troops during the First World War. The British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour wrote a letter to a prominent member of the British Jewish community saying his government was in favour of the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. Well, at that time, only 8% of Palestine's population was Jewish. The letter also said nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Internal Israeli government documents have revealed the Israeli Ministry of Intelligence is recommending the forcible transfer of the entire population of Gaza to the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt. The 10-page document, which is dated October 13th, has been published in full by the Israeli news outlets Local Call and Plus 972. The document recommends transferring all Palestinians to Egypt and setting up a, quote, sterile zone of several kilometers near the border between Egypt and Gaza. In addition, the document recommends Israel then prevent the, quote, return of the population to activities, residences near the border with Israel, unquote.
Mahjoub Zuwairi joins us here in the studio. He's a professor of Middle East politics at Qatar University. Good to have you with us. So when you look back on this, it's hard not to say that Balfour laid the foundation of conflict in the Middle East, isn't it?
Absolutely, Sami. There are three major events. If you put them together, they basically lay down the whole issue of what's so-called the Palestinian cause. One is Balfour Declaration 1917, and before that was Sykes-Picot Agreement 1916, and the last one was San Remo Agreement in 1920. Those three events together, they put what's so-called today the idea of having a home for Jews in Palestine.
Fears of a new Nakba, or catastrophe, have been growing ever since Israel ordered all Palestinians living in Gaza City and in North Gaza to vacate their homes and head south. On Monday, Palestinian UN Ambassador Riyad Mansour accused Israel of trying to depopulate Gaza.
They want to depopulate the Gaza Strip completely from the entire population and throw them in the lap of Egypt in the Sinai Desert.
Looking at it, the Balfour Declaration, was it really a colonial project, a European colonial power promising to give a land to a movement primarily comprised and led by European non-natives?
Yeah, the idea was clear, Sami, at that time. The debate in Europe was about how to divide the legacy of what's so-called the sick man of Europe, which Ottoman Empire at that time. And the debate was very clear. How can the three countries divide that legacy? And
in a way that serves colonial interests,
of course.
Not in a way that really serves natives, right?
The context is colonization. Those three forces, those three powers, are a colonized power. And they divided the land of what's so-called the Levant in that context. And they left Palestine in a way that without a political status, so they can facilitate the project of establishing a state for Jews.
And I want to play Netanyahu from last night.
Calls for a ceasefire are calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas, to surrender to terrorism, to surrender to barbarism. That will not happen.
Can you respond to the Israeli Prime Minister, Professor Pape?
Yes, I think the main attempt here is to make sure that people do not understand the context in which the Hamas operation occurred, to totally dishistoricize that event, to forget about the 15 years of inhuman siege on Gaza, or 56 years of a ruthless occupation and ethnic cleansing in the West Bank, and 75 years of not allowing refugees to come back to their homes. I think this is an attempt to Nazify the Palestinians, which is not new, by the way. The Israelis every now and then use it. If you remember, Menachem Begin compared Yasser Arafat in the bunker in 1982 to Hitler in the bunker. The Nazification of the Palestinians is meant to, first of all, license Israeli policies without any consideration to international law or human rights, and secondly, to divert us from talking about the real issue here, which is not the Hamas or its actions on the 7th of October, but rather the situation that bred this kind of violence. And because my parents came from Germany, and because we lost a lot of people in the Holocaust, exactly because of that legacy, I felt I could not be indifferent to the suffering of the Palestinians, nor did I want to be part of the society that caused these suffering. I'm still a citizen of Israel. I'm still going to Israel. I'm spending time in Israel. I'm spending time in Britain. I'm trying to divide between the two places. And I still believe that what I cherish as human rights, as human morality, is the only basis for better life for everyone concerned, Jews and Palestinians alike, in a state in the future that would be based on equality, that would not discriminate against people because of their nationality, religion, or culture, and one which will rectify past evils and would allow refugees to return, and hopefully build a state that would radiate and influence the Middle East as a whole.
Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in